How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 2.
Hello, America. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the nation, 877-973-7425. If you want to be on the program, don't forget if you text data to 33777, subscribe. You don't have to get the paid subscription, although you get a great discount. But if you just subscribe, you're going to get my annual holiday recipe list. All the stuff I cook, my world famous gravy recipe. You're going to want the gravy recipe for Thanksgiving. Text data to 33777, subscribe. Before I shift gears to a very important topic, I don't want to leave Jim waiting. He's up in Springfield, Ohio. Jim, welcome to the show. How are you?
Eric, thank you. Appreciate your page. Appreciate how you take care of your wife and your family as well.
Thank you.
I'm going to agree with you, and then I'm going to disagree with you a little bit, and then kind of agree with you. Just give me a second.
All right.
I'd like for you to. I think you could have incorporated a little bit more into your opening monologue into regards. You were discussing how nobody in Washington is doing anything, and per se Trump, in regards to the economy. And we need to remember that in that big beautiful bill, and two of these things affect me personally. Is no new taxes on overtime, no taxes on tips, and a $6,500 standard deduction on Social Security. Two of those three affected me. I'm essentially retired, and I do the gig economy. I'm actually doing some deliveries today on groceries, and I still officiate basketball. So that standard deduction on the Social Security allows me to work more. And the no tax on tips, actually, most of my money that I make delivering groceries for a grocery store are tips. And that helps me immensely. And I think some of these things are going to have an effect on the economy. And I also don't think you can blame Trump for throwing some things against the wall, per se a 15-year car loan, a 50-year mortgage. I don't want to get into the economics in regards to the interest with the banks and et cetera, et cetera. And even what he's talking about, the subsidies going direct with the Obamacare, which needs to be phased out.
I actually like the subsidies, if they're going to be paid, go directly to the American people. I just,
exactly.
I would be careful, though, if you're president, just spitballing in public on like the 50-year mortgage situation. But look, I see your point, and I do think that those tax issues. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I want to agree with you on something that you're saying about Trump, the way he views the economy. Listen, 11 rallies and 2 boat parades. I've been with Trump since 2016, and I agree with you. Things are no better than they were under Biden. And he's got this big helicopter view of the economy, and I don't want to get specific about the tariffs. I kind of disagree with you on the broad range of the tariffs. However, he is AWOL in regards to how the economy is actually doing. And when he mentions these tariffs and the trillions of dollars that they're taking in, let me tell you the ground view of that. The American people are going, well, where is that money? It's certainly not going to the deficit, or they say it is, but it's not. I guess we're spending too much. But the people want to know where that money is. And when he talks about, in a general sense, in regards to energy, well, I'm in South Carolina. I travel. I'm down the south a little bit, and I'm up in Ohio. Gasoline's $2.50 a gallon in South Carolina. Well, I just paid $3.29 today in Springfield, Ohio. And we all know grocery prices have not really stabilized, and we all know that it's so expensive to go out at a restaurant to eat that that's why the gig economy with the DoorDashes and the Uber Eats are so popular now. But so I do want to agree with you on those things. But I think Trump deserves a mention in regards to trying to get some things done.
Well, and you're right on the
point.
no tax on tips issue and stuff, and that will trickle into the economy over time as people pay taxes. Jim, look, I appreciate it, and I'm glad I didn't leave you waiting. But, yeah, for the Republicans to be cheering on the economy right now, people feel left behind, and it's tone deaf on the Republicans' part to claim that they fixed an economy that no one feels is fixed. If anything, it continues to destabilize. There's some breaking news I need to get to and just shut up about everything else real quick. Let me just read you. This is the statement from Senator John Fetterman's office. During an early morning walk, Senator Fetterman sustained a fall near his home in Braddock, Virginia. Out of an abundance of caution, Braddock, Pennsylvania. He was out of an abundance of caution. He was transported to a hospital in Pittsburgh. Upon evaluation, it is established he had a ventricular fibrillation flare-up that led to Senator Fetterman feeling lightheaded, falling to the ground, and hitting his face with minor injuries. Senator Fetterman said, quote, "If you thought my face looked bad before, wait till you see it now." He's doing well and receiving routine observation at the hospital. He opted to stay so doctors can fine-tune his medication regime. Senator Fetterman is grateful for the EMTs, doctors, and nurses who are providing his care. Senator Fetterman having a fall in Pennsylvania, ventricular fibrillation was the issue happening now. Now, I want to move to what I intended to talk about here before I took Jim's call in this breaking news. Gallup has new polling out. Fewer than half of Americans now say religion is important to their daily lives. It's a 17-point drop, and it ranks among the largest declines on planet Earth. Only 49% of Americans say religion is essential to their daily life, down from 66%. The decline is among the biggest measured globally since 2007. Among 38 Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD nations, a median of 36% of adults call religion important, a figure the U.S. is rapidly approaching. This data is in the show notes today. If you text data to 33777, you can get this information. I need to, and Philip, you edit this up as much as you need to get it out on social media. I need to say something to a lot of pastors in America who follow me on social media. I see a lot of you engaged in politics now and trying to blend Christianity and politics. I can't tell you how often I see pastors now say, if you're a Christian, you can't vote Democrat. And if you're a Christian, there's only one political party for you. And what you have done is you have tied Christ to a political party, whether you realize it or not. Because most Americans actually hate both political parties right now. And most Americans believe that neither political party has an answer for them. And what you as a pastor are doing is you're trying to drag your faith into politics. Some of you are trying to grow your social media clout and your podcasts and your influencer status, and you're not actually preaching the gospel. And you think that you are. But when you tie Christianity to a political party, when you try to tell Americans who hate both political parties, there's only one political party for you, a lot of these people who hate both parties are looking at the party you're supporting and saying, well, it's led by a man who was a serial adulterer, who says things I don't like and treats people terribly. I think I'm out. So many of you pastors who have gotten online and engaged in the political conversation have tied your politics and your faith so far together, you're leaving Americans with the impression that they have to side with you politically to side with you on eternity. And you are the worst enemy of the church right now. You pastors who have decided to engage in politics from the pulpit, you're hurting the kingdom of God in this country because you're not providing people a path to eternity without a path into politics. And many Americans abhor American politics right now. And you could give them the path to eternity and you could give them the kingdom of God, but you've decided you got to give them Caesar and God together. And people don't want Caesar. They need God in their lives. And you've precluded them from making God accessible by insisting it also comes with a political mission. It doesn't come with a political mission. Saving souls is the business of the church. Saving the the country is the business of politics, and too many of you have decided you can do both. You know, I went to seminary because I get asked very often to preach, or I did until I went to seminary. And then these churches that were asking me to preach in pulpits decided that they didn't actually want me preaching because I went to a Reformed seminary. Ironically, I can't ever preach in my church because of the accountability standards within my denomination, and I haven't gotten my degree and I haven't been ordained, and I'm not going to be ordained because it would put an undue burden on my denomination if I were ordained. You would be amazed at the number of people who complain to my seminary and my church about me because of the things I say on radio, the people who hate me on the left and the right. I actually went to seminary thinking I should go because I'm getting all these opportunities to preach and I'm turning them down because I haven't been. And now that I'm in seminary, I'm like, I don't know that I would want me in a pulpit preaching. I love to do it. It's actually more of a challenge to spend 20 or 30 minutes in a pulpit than it is to speak 3 hours off the top of my head on this program. I relish the opportunity to share the gospel in a pulpit and to preach. But I also understand, like, I don't want preachers preaching politics from the pulpit. So I would imagine there are congregations like, I don't want the political guy in my pulpit preaching Jesus. I've had to come to terms with that over time. But I see now online so many pastors who have been driven to this fight for America, that they want to save the country, they want to create some sort of Christian nation. You need to stop doing that. Look at these numbers. The data bears it out. You are your own worst enemy when it comes to sharing the gospel because you've decided to make it a political message. And people hate politics in this country. People don't like the Republican Party and they don't like the Democratic Party. And when you're out there telling people, you know, there's only one party you can vote for, they're like, well, I don't want to be part of anything you're selling, including Christ, because you're selling Christ as part of a political mission, not as part of a soul-saving endeavor. You're turning people off. And what you're doing is you're building your social media clout. You're making it about you. You're making it about your followers. You're making it about your likes. You're making it about your clicks. You're not making it about the gospel of Jesus Christ. And the data reflects that now. Fewer than half of Americans say religion is important in their daily lives. And I can see that when so many pastors I follow online believe that politics is just as important, and picking the right fight in politics and the right party in politics and the right positions in politics are just as important as salvation and the gospel message. You are your own worst enemy and an enemy of the church, trying to get people into the church by doing what you're doing. I'm just appalled at some of the religious social media influencers I see these days who can't help themselves but make Christ and the Republican Party the same thing. And you don't think you're doing it. You don't recognize you're doing it, but you're doing it. And let's be clear here. You're chasing social media influence. Here is data that shows you the church is in decline in the country. And I would argue to you that a large reason the church is in decline in the United States is because people are turned off by you turning away from the gospel to the political message of the day. People are looking and longing for something. There is a voice in the back of the head of almost every person, unless they've trained themselves to suppress it, that asks them, why am I here? Why do I belong? And the message you could deliver to them is because you are made fearfully in the likeness and image of the living God, and he wants a relationship with you. And that longing you have, that worn out feeling you have, it's the worn out feeling of someone who is lost in trying to find their way home. And the answer to you is your home is the church, and your home is eternity with God. And the answer to why is the world the way it is and so screwed up is because we live in a fallen world full of sin. But God loves you so much, he came to earth in the form of a child who was born in a manger and lived a perfect life, and yet was tortured and crucified as a terrible sinner. And all the sins of the world were piled on him on the cross, and he died. But the good news is he rose again from the dead. And you don't have to live by a rule book. You live in relationship with him, and you have eternity, and everything gets better. And the world is never going to work out the way you want because the world is a fallen world full of other sinners. But you don't have to worry about that as long as you have your relationship with Christ. And instead, what we have is preachers now on a political mission that you don't just have to embrace Christ, you have to embrace the Republican Party. And you've got to align yourself in a way that lives with the Republican Party. And that's so off-putting to so many people who see so many pastors at such high stature now, spending their days fighting other Theo bros online, arguing about Christian nationalism and how we got to align with the Republican Party. People don't want the Republican Party. They want a solution to what ails them in the world, and that solution is not Donald Trump, the GOP, or a political path. It's Christ, and you're not giving it to him. So, of course, we're a nation in religious decline because most of the pastors who have prominent political profiles these days have political profiles. And people are tired of politics. And because you are tying politics and the cross together, people are turning out the cross because they're turning out the politics. And you have only yourselves to blame. Do better. Well, a little more breaking news here. This of the not good variety. Verizon just announced 15,000 people will be laid off here in the holiday season. The company's got 100,000 employees. It's the largest layoffs ever for the company, reducing costs as it contends with increased competition. And for both wireless service and home internet customers, the cuts are set to take place in the next week. The majority of reductions are expected to be made through layoffs. They also plan to transition 200 stores into franchised operations, which will shift employees off its payroll to franchises. In the most recent quarter, Verizon lost 7,000 postpaid phone connections, while Wall Street analysts had forecasted a gain of 19,000. AT&T and T-Mobile have both been growing their subscriber counts as Verizon is in decline. So 15,000 jobs out at Verizon the next few weeks. This comes on the heels of other major layoffs right here at the holiday season, which sucks. If you have the time and the generosity and the ability, if you would text donate to 33777 and follow the link and consider donating to help people at Thanksgiving. A lot of people need help this year, a whole lot of people. We're raising money nationwide to provide people with Thanksgiving dinners who are in need, partnering with local food banks and soup kitchens around the country, thanks to Hungry for a Day. Go to Eric, E-R-I-C-K, ericthanksgiving.com or just text donate to 33777. I have bought gold. I hadn't for a long time, but decided it needed to be part of my portfolio as China is trying to destabilize the American economy. And I did so with Swiss America. They are one of the leading precious metal dealers in the country. They've been warning people about a secret war on cash. And you can call or text 800-289-2646 and get their report, The Secret War on Cash, completely free. 800-289-2646. The all-out war on cash includes digital forms of currency as the government is trying to steer you toward using plastic to be able to buy stuff so they can snoop on you. Get the Secret War on Cash report completely free from Swiss America. Just text my name, Eric, to 800-289-2646. 800-289-2646. You can also go to SwissAmerica.com/Eric, SwissAmerica.com/ERICK. Follow that link, SwissAmerica.com/Eric. Put in your information. They'll get you the report completely free. Or just follow the link back when you text Eric to 800-289-2646. Get the Secret War on Cash report completely free from Swiss America. Message and data rates may apply. Hello, it is Eric Erickson here across the United States. The phone number is 877-973-7425. I want to commend a couple of friends. I'm trying to get them to be our 15-second sponsor because I'm in awe of what they've done. So I've got some friends. They run a gun parts company called True Precision. And my concealed carry is a gun from them. True Precision, they do incredible upgrades for different guns. I've got a Glock 43X. I've got new slide and barrel from them. And they realized that the milling machines they use for their guns could be used to make golf equipment. And they have started a company called Van Allen Golf, vanallengolf.com. And I have held one of the putters. And I got to tell you, I kind of thought all these high-end putters, it was a bunch of hokey nonsense until I held a Van Allen putter. And I want one of these so bad. I have not been given one. I have no interest in the company. It is good to see good people doing great things. And I want to put it on your radar that in 14 days, 10 hours, and 23 minutes, they launched Van Allen Golf. You can go to vanallengolf.com and be notified when these putters come out. I want one so bad. The weight and feel of this sucker was incredible. The look is gorgeous. Listen, y'all, I have hit middle-age golf fanaticism, and I really did not know that a putter could, and then when I was talking to a golf pro, he's like, the putter does most of the work. Your swing is kind of slow. It's the weight, the balance, the feel, the grip, and all that on the putter and how you swing. Oh, my gosh, I can tell the difference. I really thought it was a bunch of nonsense. You see all these, like, Scotty Cameron putters and stuff, and do they really make? Yes, I have held the Van Allen putter. I want one so bad. So if you're a golf person, just stay tuned for vanallengolf.com. I'm so excited for these guys to see what they have done to be able to hold that thing. Anyway, I'm proud of them. Now I need to go to the phones here. John is calling from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Welcome to the show, sir. How are you?
Thank you, sir. I met you in Tulsa at the ice skating rink with that nice pub and grill. I got a couple.
I need to come back to that thing. That was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun, and I was just calling to comment on. I'm an attorney in Oklahoma. When I met you there, we talked about a little bit about it, but about the pulpit thing, about preaching politics. I totally agree with you. My only caveat really is if you preach the word, it does not return void. Well, if you preach the word, people will do that vicariously. They will stand up politically. You can encourage them, but you don't direct them in politics. You can say, you know what, we do have a responsibility to be active in our community and to make a difference. But what you decide to do with that is up to you. But here's the word. And then vicariously, if you have the word in you, then you'll know what to do. You'll make the right choice. So
listen,
I think,
I'm glad you say it that way, because I have actually I've said similar things to pastor friends of mine who I think have gone down the rabbit hole in politics too much. That
Right.
if you reshape someone's heart with the message, they're going to, that message is going to transform their entire life, including how they vote. And there's no reason for you to be telling people you got to vote this particular way, because if their conversion is authentic, they're going to head in that direction anyway. Right. So there's no but when you start out with someone who isn't a Christian, you're trying to convert them and say, hey, you got to vote for Donald Trump's party and worship Jesus. And they're like, well, I don't like Donald Trump. Well, you just send them to Jesus, and he's going to shape their world. Yeah, I'm glad you said that, John.
You shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Give them the truth.
Yes.
And they'll be free, and then they'll make cognizant, logical decisions that are good for the people around them and for their family and for themselves. That's it. They're just going about it directly instead of indirectly, because he knows better than we do. People wonder, well, why didn't God answer my prayer? Well, he did, just not the way you thought he would. You're not God.
Yep. That's the number of prayers that, and John, thank you very much for that. The number of prayers that I have prayed for, that whether it's a winning lottery ticket or you name it, that God chose to not answer. I got to tell you, I'm in that worldview where God chooses not to answer my winning lottery ticket prayer, and my thought is, wow, he's got something even better in store for me. And I'm sure he does, because I've never won the lottery. All right, Gregory, you're going to be up next. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Eric, pleasure to finally get to speak with you. You're awesome. Been listening to you for many, many years.
Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to say thoughts and prayers to John Fetterman. I don't know if I've seen that decline. You were talking about a decline in a Christianity faith. If you notice, I don't know about you, but have you noticed that when you receive an email, it used to be thoughts and prayers, now it's thoughts. You're in my thoughts.
Yeah.
Well,
oh,
if I'm in
no.
kind
It's
of
good
old-
vibes. It's good vibes these days with the emails I
Or
get.
good
Oh, it
vibes.
drives me crazy.
But the second part, I totally agree with what you were saying about the pulpit. I do want to bring up, and I don't know if you touched base on this. Maybe you did. Maybe I missed it. But I've been in a interracial marriage for about 20 years, and her side of the family is very church-going. Been to a ton of so-called black churches, and a lot of times you will see pictures of senators or even President Obama in the pulpit.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, that if they believe in, obviously, abortion is one of their top things, and you know what the Bible says about spilling of innocent blood. What are we doing? It's on both sides. Get politics
absolutely.
out of the church. Because,
look,
I've been to these churches, and go ahead.
Go ahead, Greg.
Please
Go ahead.
elaborate. I'm sure you've seen the same things, whether it's on social media or what happens on both sides of the church. So I just want to bring it up that it does obviously happen. You know this better than anybody. It's on both sides. And I totally agree with what you said.
I got to tell you, it frustrates me that for a long time, it was not a thing in a lot of evangelical churches. In the last 10, 15 years, a lot of evangelical churches started deciding we got to get more into politics. And I just think that's such a not good thing for a lot of churches to do. Because to John's point from Tulsa, if you help people find real religion, their worldview is going to be changed. And that change in worldview is going to, over time, change everything. And I liken it to the switch in the Midwest and the South towards the GOP in the 1990s, that for the longest time, the Midwest and the South voted Democrat in federal and state races. And the Democratic Party increasingly no longer aligned with those people. And a lot of churches started speaking up more and more on cultural issues, and they left the politics out of it. There was always the moral majority. There was the Jerry Falwells, there's the Pat Robertsons and Ralph Reed and the like, but that was kind of on the side. It wasn't in the pulpit. But in the pulpits, they did preach more and more on not just the word, but tied it to contemporary cultural issues. And in 1994, the switch flipped and has never been flipped off again, where suddenly, all of a sudden, people who had been voting Democrat suddenly realized, I can't vote Democrat anymore. I got to vote for the Republicans. They're more aligned with me culturally. Look at Bill Clinton and look at his behavior. And I would just tell Republicans right now that, and listen, I actually want to say this very lovingly. I don't want to be insulting, and I know sometimes I can be. You may really like President Trump. I support President Trump. I criticize President Trump. There are things he does I don't care for, but I do kind of find him endearing. But I know a lot of people who really, really hate Donald Trump. And I want those people to go to heaven too. And if my approach is to tell them they've got to align themselves with a political party whose leadership they hate and that they see as hypocritical to the values the church proclaims, you're not only going to lose that person politically, you're going to lose that person spiritually. And the Holy Spirit may intervene in time to help that person see the light, but you have hindered their walk because you dragged politics into it. And you're trying to convert someone politically and spiritually at the same time. People don't like politics in this country. I don't like politics in this country. I kind of hate everybody these days. I mean, they're all just looking for excuses and someone to blame as opposed to coming up with meaningful solutions to improve the country. They're all trying to grow their power, not decrease their power and increase the power of the American public. And I think if you're trying to convert people and save their soul, and you're also tying it to saving the country, you save the soul and God can take care of the rest, Pastor. You save the soul, and the change in their heart is going to change their worldview, is going to change how they operate in life and how they vote. The political project of the church shouldn't be. And too many pastors I see online now, for a long time, I got so exhausted by following all these political accounts on Twitter, I just started following more and more pastors. And now the pastors are as political as everybody else. I've started following the golfers now. The golf Twitter is so much more enjoyable because it's never about politics. It's never about politics. I hung out with some people a couple of weeks ago, a group of golfers. I couldn't tell you what their politics are. Not a single one of them talked about politics. It was all about golf. Rory McIlroy and Scotty Scheffler and Tiger Woods' back surgery and different golf equipment and styles of golf and golf courses and golf architects and golf architecture. I've gone down the golf rabbit hole. There's no politics there, and it's wonderful. Sadly, there's too much politics in church right now. There are so many people who have turned the church into a political project, and they are not helping people find eternity. They're so busy trying to save their country. And I've got to tell you, here's my ultimate problem in all of this. And again, I don't mean this negatively. I don't mean to be belittling, but I've read the end of the book. This country doesn't last forever. There is a country that lasts forever, but it's not this country. This is the one we're just passing through. And when you as a pastor are so committed to saving the nation, you're not saving souls. And I don't think it's a coincidence that as the church project in America has become more and more tied to partisan politics, you're seeing more and more people leave the church behind. We're seeing a massive decline in people who believe that religion is important to their daily lives, because the church has become convinced that politics is important to our daily lives. And I want to be real clear here. Religion does not fade away. There's no such thing as a real atheist. People put their hope in something. The atheist worships something, just not God. We all worship something. And so the troubling thing here for the church, the Christian church, and politics in America should be that religion is no longer meaningful to people's lives. Religion hasn't gone away. It's just converted to something else. And that is, to some degree, it's been converted into the tribalism of politics we're seeing. There's no such thing as a real atheist. We all worship something. Even the most committed atheist worships something and believes something by faith. The problem for American Christians is that they've turned the church into a political project, oftentimes tied to the Republican Party, and so people are eschewing the church, and they're actually just putting their faith in raw politics these days. They're putting their faith in Washington or in politicians or in celebrity figures. They're worshiping idols that will one day be smashed, and the church has lost its way and is not turning people to real religion, which real religion in this country and in the world is actually a relationship. It's not a rule book. It's not do these things and live. It's live and do these things and live by having a relationship with this one guy. And too much of the church has become so political, they've forgotten that, and to their detriment and to the country's detriment as well. Hello, my friends. It is Eric Erickson here. Thank you for listening to me today and spending time with me. You know, I got to say, as we head into Thanksgiving season, I really am thankful for you guys. I want to be on all the talk stations, and I will take what I can get. And I'm thankful for the stations that have put me on, and I'm thankful for the listeners and to be relational with you guys instead of just transactional. You know, I just... If you're new here, thanks for finding me. I don't say things to win an audience. I actually think that there is too much audience capturing happening in conservative media these days, where people say things they don't necessarily believe because they're afraid they'll lose the audience. And in my experience, I've always found that if I just tell you what I think, but also relate to you and kind of show you my soul, that we can agree to disagree. We've got room for disagreement in the program. And I'm really concerned by some of the people I see in conservative media these days who I know them personally, and I'm like, I know you don't really believe this, or you're not really this way in person, so why are you doing this on your podcast or your show or online? And so much of it is they are chasing clout. And it is kind of a drug. I got to admit, Elon Musk retweeted me and was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Can I do it again? What can I do to go viral? And it just, I think it eats at your soul, though. It consumes your soul. So I'm very grateful and thankful for you guys. And I am very, very thankful for your generosity. If you weren't here earlier, I mentioned we've crossed $100,000 in donations for Hungry for a Day. And they're partnering with soup kitchens and food banks in every corner of the country in order to make sure people at Thanksgiving get a meal. And it really is a $40 donation will provide a turkey, mac and cheese and sweet potatoes and dressing and pie for Thanksgiving. They're partnering with soup kitchens and food banks around the country to make it happen. And if you can help, please text donate to 33777. I really appreciate your generosity at this time of year. I know some of you can't, but those who can, thank you very much for doing it. Text donate to 33777. Let me tell you about Vision Computer. If you got a company right now, a small business, and you're struggling with your computers, maybe you're the CEO, but you're also the CTO because you can't afford tech support, you really should reach out to Vision Computer, and they can help you. If you're listening on KSTE out in Sacramento, you're listening down in Palm Beach, Florida, you're listening up in Connecticut, Vision helps companies nationwide. They can help you as well. All you have to do is go to visioncomputers.com or call them at 404-COMPUTE. Tell them I sent you. They might save you some money. But what they can do is your employees can be really great and proficient at their jobs, and Vision can be great at their computers. If they ever run into a problem, they can call Vision. Vision, 15 seconds or less, they get someone on the phone. Instead of an AI chatbot, they get a human being on the phone with them. And Vision Computer really can help navigate them through what's going on. In many cases, can remote in and fix the problem. Call them at 404-COMPUTE or go to visioncomputers.com. They can save you money and keep you expertly online. Visioncomputers.com or 404-COMPUTE.